Okay, so
Okay.
then sharing the link every week. They don't give you the link before you do it.
Well, there's like I think it creates the link. I feel like we go
Just in
through
the
this every time
platform.
we go live. Yeah, it
Yeah.
like if you go to your LinkedIn now, like you'll see a post and it'll like have a link to where people can view the live stream. You're not inviting them
Right.
to it though.
Oh, it's
And
weird.
like
Oh,
hopefully,
okay. All right,
let's see if
there we
my
go.
YouTube link is live.
Comment.
We're gonna get a handle on this.
I know, we're going to do it. Well,
Someday.
it's like, what are you supposed to do? I guess people just go live without
Yeah.
posting it anywhere else. I don't know.
So that link, the link that I just put into the chat and to the comments, I don't know if you could see that, but that link is the link to where to watch this on my YouTube channel. You could also post like your LinkedIn links or your Twitter X link
Right.
or drop it wherever you want to.
Can I drop it like it's hot?
Hey, Clementine.
Oh, Clem. Hi, Clem. Um, okay. I'm just posting the Twitter one because I don't want to waste any more time. Hello, everyone. All right. Let me get back to you. Where are you? There you are. Okay. 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 So, welcome back.
Got it?
Um, you were away last week. Welcome,
I
welcome back,
was.
John.
I'm back.
Um,
Um,
any news? Any fun bubble related news on that? Or
no, I don't have like a nice like analogy to create like
okay,
you had the last time compared Disneyland to like the best UX. Like that was cool. I really like that. But what we were like thinking about talking about today is we started this conversation at I would say the bubble retreat. What's up, Jordan? Where everyone kind of like we had this conversation around what makes a senior developer, and I don't think we came to any agreement. A
no,
lot of people had opinions, and it was a lot of different like there was so many different ways to think about first off what is senior developer and how do you define that, and also how do you get there, what is the best way to get there. And
yep.
there's 1,000 different answers I think to both of those things. Both of those are very undefined. So I thought it would be cool. Like, so, okay, yeah, let's just set this up, right? So I posted that poll.
I
Let me
got
see if
it.
I can share my screen
Oh yeah, you share your screen.
without messing this whole thing up.
I believe in you.
There we go. And I gotta bring it to the stage, right, Kelly?
Yeah, yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
You're doing it.
All right. So this post, um, 33 votes. More projects made. That's what most people thought would make you more senior.
I found that so interesting.
Senior, my vote was senior mentorship.
Yeah, same.
But I think even after I posted, after I like voted that, I still kind of like went back. I'm like, wait, that doesn't feel right either. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. So I went back and forth a lot on these deep dive in one area courses, and like these, I would say are four of like 1,000 others that we could possibly
Yeah,
talk about here. This I was limited by the number of responses that X will let you give on one of their polls.
right.
So I'm thinking like with the people that are watching and also between you and I, we could come up with like a tier list here and just kind of talk of the
Ooh,
cool, right?
yeah, fancy
The ins
pants.
the ins and outs of what is senior and how do you get there? And
Yep.
like we can make them as we go here. These are the ones that are from the poll, and I just added a few other random skills that I think are important to develop, like communication skills.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is there's two sides of this. One is like just skill and like mindset, I guess, like who you are and how you are. But then there's also like what you do, which is
Yeah.
what you can do, courses, more projects. Um, oh, interesting. Michael said more projects is too favorable to agencies. Yeah.
Flowtron, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. See, there you go. And like, is like working for an agency one of these tiles, right? Like, is that a thing to get to senior? I guess it depends on the career path you want to take, but that's like
Right.
another option.
Well,
So
can we first like say what's a senior dev? Can we just kind of define that?
we can try,
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, because like I know that's a thing in traditional development teams that there's like this I don't know if it's a hierarchy necessarily, but it's just a stratification, right? And that's not something in Bubble that really, because we don't work on teams as much. So like everyone's just a developer, you know. But then in a job posting, you'll see, you know, seeking a senior developer, which I don't think most of us don't come from that background where we have that nomenclature, right? So we just kind of are like, sure, I'm a senior developer. I want to get paid more. I want more
Yeah.
responsibility, you know, but like, I'm not sure what the actual criteria is. What is I'm going to ask, I'll Google senior developer. An experienced software engineer who has mastered the fundamentals of their tech stack, number one, possesses strong problem solving skills, number two, and can mentor junior developers. So that's what Google's AI overview says. I mean, there's more, right? Adept at designing, coding, testing, delivering complex features, and often play a key role in guiding the technical development or, direction of a project. While years of experience are a factor, seniority is defined by a developer's ability to handle complex tasks independently. That's interesting. Communicate effectively and contribute to the overall technical health of the team and code base. So, like, you could be a developer for 20 years and not have, you know, great communication skills or like the ability to sort of deliver or manage things and never make it to senior developer, right?
Absolutely. I want to bring up Brian's comment here. I'm not convinced that traditional software has a particularly standardized criteria for senior either, given how many times our partners jump back and forth from senior to normal staff roles. See, there you go. This is not just like a Bubble thing. This is a broadly across the, you know, development in general, regardless of what tech stack you're using. I don't know how agreed upon this is, right? There is a lot of things that we could say that, yeah, that makes me senior, but I don't know if everyone agrees on what those are, which is exactly what makes this conversation interesting.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself a senior developer?
I think so. And the reason I think that is because I can solve other people's problems. It's not just my problems that I can solve. That is my own personal definition. Is like if you're able to like look at what somebody's doing and solve their problem or help them solve their own problem, that to me is an indication at least of being senior.
I wonder also, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, in context, right? Like, in the world of Bubble, there's maybe 1,000 professional Bubble developers, if that. So, like, it's like, I think I would consider myself senior, but if there was 10,000, I don't think I would. Do you know what I mean? Like,
So like the number?
Yeah. It's more,
Like
I
the
guess,
pool?
like of the developers that exist, I would say, sure, I'm probably in the top, whatever, you know, that makes the senior cut or whatever, that
Yeah.
percentage. But if I jumped into like traditional, obviously I don't do traditional code, so I would be like, I would be below junior in there. But I don't know if that maybe is a factor there. Like, of the developers that exist, are you more senior than most? If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I don't know.
I think that well, okay, so we got to start this conversation somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I think mentorship is a good place to start. But like Kelly, we have 41 people listening today, which I'm pretty shocked by.
Oh, hello, everyone.
Had this many. So if like put your thoughts into the chat so we can like talk with you and add stuff that we're not saying or forgetting about, because there's so much here that like these are literally our first 6 tiles guesses of what we think is important.
Yep.
All right, so maybe let's start with mentorship. That feels like if you are able to mentor somebody else or receive mentorship from someone else, I feel like that is a important thing in your development, your progress as a developer. Agree or disagree?
If you can mentor someone else effectively,
you could be a shitty mentor too.
You could be a shitty mentor. I mean, I guess, like, I don't know, like, let's say you're put on a team, you or someone is put on a team, and you have people below you. Like, technically, I guess you're mentoring them in some way. But I don't know, that feels mushy. That feels a little bit mushy. I think it's important to have mentorship in order to become a developer, a senior developer. But I don't know like what that looks like. I don't know how you would like define that and go like, check, got it.
Well, here
You know,
here's why I think that the like like mentoring somebody else brings you kind of elevates your own thing. Like I don't think that I really even understood the fundamentals of bubble until I started teaching
mm.
teaching the boot camps. Like if you would have asked me, I was junior before I started teaching those courses, and I became senior because I had to learn how to explain this to somebody else.
That's such a good
Uh,
point. Yeah.
so like mentorship, you can look at it from two angles. Like somebody mentored me into a more senior developer, or I had to learn this so that I could explain it effectively to somebody else.
Yeah.
Which one is more important? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily like we have to rank it, right? But I think like both are important. Like there's no single thing. I think it's all going to be a combination of everything. But I do think you're right that like I was just thinking. So I teach Bubbles Immerse program, and this year is AI for good. I think is the topic, and like I don't really work with AI all that much, and now I have to teach it in like 1 month. I have to teach it, which means that forces me to like really deep dive into anything someone might ask me in this 8 week course, you know what I mean? And so that means I have to learn it pretty deeply and have to seek out resources and stuff like that. So the mentorship, I think, is a forcing function to just be better, get better technically at what you do so that you can respond as a mentor to someone who is less experienced, right?
It forces you.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's like the right way to think about it. It really forces you to have to know this. And when you have to explain, that's the big like stepping thing for me. It's like I have to explain this and not sound stupid. Like I
Hmm.
have to sound at least like I know, and it's not just like reading. It's not just like, oh, I can repeat what I read on Wikipedia. No, you have to have understood that
Hmm.
concept and then be able to articulate it. That's very different. And
Yeah.
doing that forces you like into a deeper, knowledge of whatever it is that you're trying to speak about.
Yeah.
Um, you only get that if you have to do, like in your case right now, like you're kind of being forced to learn a
Yeah.
new area.
Well, it's that, and like yesterday, I had a coaching with this woman who's actually really very smart and can be very good at bubble, but she's so new, and she was doing some like show hide stuff, which like I never use the show hide actions. So I was showing her like setting a state and what do you call it? Oh my god, conditionals. Like these are things that we have just known for a long time, but it wasn't something that was like that she had seen before, right? And so I guess the point is like, oh no, it wasn't setting state. It was something more complicated than that. I can't remember what it was, but it was something that like is not obvious. It's not a bubble feature. It's just kind of the way that we've all figured out how to do it. So I think a part of being able to mentor someone is seeing different ways that people do things and
Oh
then
yeah.
do you know what I mean? So
A hundred
it's
percent. Yeah, it's like I've been amazed at the people that went to the boot camps or the ones that I went, I just had the one-to-one coaching like you are, where
mm,
it's like I would have never thought to do it this way. Like they're
yeah,
like I have to now figure out your way of doing this in
yeah,
order for me to help you. And I probably can, but it's going to take me a minute to figure out like, wow, this is the way that I would have not done this. So it's new.
yeah.
It's new to me.
Well, right, and I think, like, I always wanna see how people build because then I have more in my toolkit to be able to, like, build for myself or for clients or whatever, but also just, like, to be able to teach and be able to say, like, "There's another way," "There's another way to do this," or look at all the ways and go, "This is the most efficient way for your thing," you know?
Hmm.
But I think that's a different thing, which is it's hard to see they're really small on my screen.
Oh yeah, are these
Oh,
too
super
small?
important. Yeah, the actual like what the things are, but like um I think this goes along with like more experience and mentorship, I guess, but just like seeing other people's builds and have a
Yeah.
little card for that. But that to me like, and that's working alongside people and asking to see what they've done and watching, not necessarily tutorials, but like watching. I wish there was more, what do you call that? Where you sort of like talk through a build. What do you call that?
Is
I
there a
don't
name
know.
for that?
There's a name for this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like a, anyway, where like I would share my screen and I would give you a demo of what I've built and then we dig into the back end, right? I want
Uh,
that.
I feel like Brenton was trying to do this a lot at the offsite where he said
Yeah.
it was like code development, something like that.
Kind of,
Like,
but like it's, I don't want you to help me. I just want to show you and I want you to show me what you built and then I can ask questions. So there's no building happening. It's just like a demo, right? So
gotcha.
the point is like just to be able to go, how did you do that filtering thing there? How did you do it? And
Give it a
see,
name because this is a whole nother area that I didn't create a tile for. I'm gonna see if I can do that.
yeah,
Give it some kind of name that like we can make a tile out of.
I think it's like show and tell. I mean, but it's the thing, it's not necessarily, I mean, there are two sides to that even, as being able to talk through something you've built, which is important for clients and working with junior devs, but also seeing what other people have built. So it's like show and tell on both sides.
All right, I'm just gonna call it like peer-to-peer collaboration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right,
Great.
collab,
It's
collab.
exposure is what it is. That's what I'm talking about. Exposure to other people's building style and how they build. There's
I
two
gotta get
different
it. I
things
gotta
there.
get it in a word that's gonna fit on this tile.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe just collaboration. I don't know. Is
But
there a
it's
more
not.
choice
That's
word
the
that we can
point.
do?
That's what I'm saying. It's not collaboration. It's
Okay.
just seeing how other people build. I would use the word exposure.
Exposure. Peer-to-peer exposure. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound great.
I don't know. While you're doing that,
Exposure.
Michael, if you're still here, when you say within the context of a company, I think product expertise comes into play too. You talking about like in general product, like being able to understand the product lifecycle and priorities with like, I don't know if Michael's still here. I think that might be what you mean.
We'll give him a chance to respond. He also said
Yeah.
job descriptions for senior dev vary a ton in requirements. Nobody knows what a senior dev is. Okay.
Mm,
So we're kind of on the mark here with like who the hell knows.
yeah.
All right. So Kelly,
Yeah.
with all that said, we did say something about mentorship. I'm adding it's creating another image for exposure. But
Okay.
like where would you rank this
I would
the
say
mentorship?
important. I would say important because well, I feel like everything's going to be super important. To have a mentor, like I don't have a mentor right now,
Yeah.
kind of in various ways. Oh, Brian, look at Brian, a big old block. All right, let me finish what I'm saying.
Uh,
We'll read Brian's comment.
yeah, yeah. Finish your
Um,
thought.
like I don't have a mentor at this moment that is like a consistent mentor. I have people who I can go to for mentorship. Like Brenton is a perfect example. Like I don't talk to Brenton all day, every day and show him all my work, but I know I can go to Brenton and ask him. He's very wise and he is very experienced. And so like I know I can go to him. So having people who can act as mentors, I think for me has been like super, super helpful. And being on the team with Jake at SwapStack was maybe the most important thing in my bubble career. But I don't have that level right now. Like with Jake, it was like every day, you know? So yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I think I'd put it in super important.
So, okay, super important for mentorship. I think I agree with this. And just because you don't have one today doesn't mean that we didn't have this at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could call out a few, and there's like again, like I think either way, it doesn't matter which one we're talking about, whether it's like you've mentored someone or someone has mentored you. I don't think that matters. I think if you've had this at any point, it goes a long way in bumping up your skills,
Yeah.
is the bottom line. And I think
Yeah.
that's probably one of the most important things.
And I don't think
Yeah.
you could get to a senior level without having that at some point.
I don't think you can. Like you can keep doing something like okay, so let's compare that to like more projects, for example,
Yeah.
right? Like you can have a lot of projects that were all done in the same way, right? You may have had
Yeah.
different problems to solve, which will help, but there's something about this that to me feels like it's going to be the next tier down as opposed to
I think it's
as
overrated.
compared to
I
mentoring.
think it's because like you could work on one project and just do it brilliantly and have mentorship and all this other stuff. Like James Davenport is a perfect example. I think James has worked on one app. I mean, he's built other little stuff, but like he do you know James? He has a spot. I always say Spotify, Shopify, like
Uh-huh.
app, add-on app, and he runs a successful business, and that's his bubble app. And James knows everything, and he is I would say a senior developer, but one project.
Oh, I see your point. So
Yeah,
like the volume of projects does not necessarily make
I don't
you
think
a
so.
better developer. Okay,
No,
understood. That is a
no.
fair point. Okay, so wait, you would put this all the way at underrated? Wow. I
I know.
mean
I
overrated.
mean, I'm not saying just do one project and then you're. Hear me. Like, I'm not saying you just are a senior developer after you've done one project. Not at all. But if it we're just talking about the number of projects, I don't think that matters.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get to Brian's comment here. There's a Flowtron. There's a deep insight into this product expertise point. True for traditional code and no code, but particularly exacerbated for no code. A key difference for seniors is to deeply get the business context and the product context you're building within. Yes, I fully
Yeah.
agree with that. Not just the technical bubble skills component. That's where there's a lot of agency work there's a lot of agency work that comes up short. It's
Mhm.
often missing the true product context, which is way easier to pick up with a longer stint inside the context of a company.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Michael also had responded to explain. Nope.
Got it.
When I
The
wrote that, I
product.
meant that the actual product you're developing, implying some amount of time already working there on that product, but the path you started to go down, general experience and ability to architect complex solutions is important too. Yeah, I mean, I feel like my experience at SwapStack was a year and a half, and it was the first like startup I've ever worked in, and now I feel like I can talk about lots of stuff that I could not have felt confident talking about like at all before I worked there. So I think that gives me a broad context. Now, I think there's also a difference between like having a job, like you and Michael have a job, right?
Mhm.
You work at a startup. And so your experience and knowledge of that product and, the problem that's being solved and the context it's in and the users and all that kind of stuff, like just like adds a layer of like excellence to the work you do. But if you're freelancing, or coaching like I do, like I jump in for 1 hour, I'm not going to know the product that well. Like, so being able to have the broad business context outside of any specific product, I think is like both of those things.
Important. Yeah. Okay. So the context of what you're building and what you're working on does also matter.
Hmm.
But that's a whole nother dimension to think about.
Yeah.
Um, Flowtron also says, be the go-to person for a complex issue nobody else can answer is a good
Mm-hmm.
indicator, right? Like I definitely feel that at my company. Like, and if there's anything technical related to the app, I'm the one to talk to about it.
You're also
Um,
the only one, right?
yeah, sure. Um, and like,
But if you were a junior dev, they would not come to you and go, "What should we be doing here?" They would say, "Do this."
I think the feedback from the team would be a lot more specific. Like,
Hmm.
hey, John, this is happening in the app. Please make this happen.
Hmm.
Whereas, like, if they're coming to me, they're asking a broader question of like, hey, why do we think this is happening, and what do we think is happening here? You
Hmm.
know, and like, and then I'm expected to come up with a solution to whatever it is that we're solving. You know, so
Yeah.
it's like it's more like instructional, like transact instructional versus more like
Yeah.
abstract thinking.
Well, and as a developer, be like, I was talking to a developer, I don't know, a few months ago, and he was like, "Well, if the client doesn't tell me what to do, like they have to tell me what to do." And I'm like, "No, they don't. No, they don't. What are you talking about? They have to tell you the problem they're trying to solve. It's your job to come
Yes.
up with what to do." And I think that that's a mindset difference between I wouldn't say he was a junior developer. He's probably mid tier. He's probably, I think he's very skilled technically, but just didn't have that sort of like ownership over the the thinking around what is being built or what needs to be built.
I think that's a very important point that you like if you are waiting for someone to tell you what to do, um, I don't think you've taken ownership over whatever you're working on, right? There
Yeah.
there has to be input, right? And a lot of the insights will come from like outside people that are engaging with customers and just have a broader maybe a broader business context than you as the developer. But in the freelancing context, the customer like you just said, Kelly, I think that's the best way to say it. It's like they have to do a good job of articulating what problem they're solving. You kind of have to tell them how we're gonna
Yeah.
how we're gonna solve this problem.
Well, and the customer is always terrible at articulating the problem they're solving. Terrible. They're terrible at it. So
Yeah.
you have to also get the information you need. You like asking questions is, I think, one of the most, I think asking questions is like super important. You need a score for that ability to ask questions.
Well, I have
Um,
communication on here. I feel like is
yeah.
that too broad?
No, I don't think that's too broad, but I think like if, and I would put that right at the top for a senior dev. I would put that right at the top. Yeah.
In front of mentorship?
Oh, we're ranking that way too.
We can do
Yeah,
this way too.
I think in front of mentorship.
Wow, communication is the number one skill
So far, so
for
far.
developers. So far, so far.
Yeah,
Um,
it's too important. It's listening and being able to articulate things. Mostly listening, I think.
yeah, mostly listening and asking, like you said, probing questions that are challenging
Mhm.
to your client or your senior team and whoever you're developing for. There has to be like a not like I'm not afraid kind of attitude to this too,
Mm,
because I think a lot of people get scared of their customers or in my case like the CEO is my boss. It's the CEO
right.
of the company, right? So, you know, I'm in a lucky situation where he appreciates pushback, right? He
Yeah,
he feels as though that's a good thing. I don't think most people think that way. It's more like, no, I know what problem I'm solving, and this is how I want to do it. And you're kind of the lackey that's going to make that happen.
right.
So, uh, especially, I feel like that comes up a lot in freelancing. Like you're a hired hand. They look at you like a hired hand. I felt that a lot more when I was freelancing versus when I was working for a company.
Mm. I feel, but what's interesting is that, like, I think most founders that come to Bubble historically, I think this might be changing, but most founders that are like, okay, I'm going to use Bubble, they're new founders. They want guidance because they don't know what they're doing. They've never founded a startup before or built anything online. So they have big ideas and they're excited about their thing, but they don't know what to do and are hiring us as the expert to help them get that done. They're not necessarily coming in going, I'm going to hire someone and tell them what to do. They don't know what we do.
Well, do you feel like what do you get more of? Like, what's the percentage of like people that think that way, like you just said, who have a more like exploratory approach versus like this is exactly what I want, developer do this.
No, I mean, most of my clients come through the coaching page on Bubbles. So they're already asking for help. So I
Okay.
think they come in a very sort of humble kind of mindset going like, I'm stuck, help me, so
Yeah.
it's just naturally I kind of sit in that place there. Um, but other clients I've hired, I put myself in that place, or I've hired, listen to me, uh, clients that I've worked with who've hired me. Um, I just kind of from the out of the gate sort of assert myself in that way.
Yeah. And I think where you do get your customers from does matter.
Hmm. Hmm.
If they were right off of Upwork, like you're not gonna have that same attitude, I don't think.
Yeah.
Um, so your go-to market for your freelancing services, I think, is going to determine.
Yeah,
How,
I think that's a great point, which is kind of outside of like being a senior developer or not. But like as a senior developer, I wouldn't um, be on Upwork because I come from design, and my experience with Upwork as a designer was that like you don't work on Upwork if you're like a senior designer. It's sort of where you go to just like get some scraps, right? So I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think there's some really skilled senior developers on Upwork, but I and I haven't spent a ton of time on there, so like forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. I just feel like that marketplace is like primed for people to come and want a deal and want just an executor who's cheap.
mm,
Like that's the kind of person who would go to Upwork to find a developer, is the
yep,
one who's expecting that. So doesn't mean that the developers on there are not good or not senior or whatever, but I think that the pool of clients is going to be just a lower quality.
that feels right.
Yeah.
Let's get to Lucas's comment here. As a non-senior bubble dev, what I expect from my senior fellow devs working on the same project as me is the ability to not only solve problems, but solve them with clarity so I can learn from them. In other words, their knowledge can make others grow.
Yeah. I think that makes
How do you
sense.
interpret that?
Yeah. So like, hi, Lucas, by the way, Lucas, my
Hey,
bed.
Lucas.
So I think what Lucas is saying is that like if you're on a team and you are the senior person on the team, if you're like I remember feeling this when I had an assistant where I was like, ah, you suck, I'll just do it for you, right? And then like I wouldn't really explain why I was doing it this way I was doing it, and I would just be like, just get out of here, go, just here's a menial task to do while I do the complex thing, instead of taking the time to like articulate why and how and all the options and the thinking behind it and all that kind of stuff that like I'm never going to train them up, right? If I take all the complex tasks. I don't think this is exactly what Lucas is saying, but it's just what I'm thinking about, right? Like you have to, I think, work in a way, if you're working with others, that there's purpose in how you're communicating what you're doing, and it's to help them grow, not just
Yeah.
to do stuff for you.
And that doesn't feel like progress, which is why most people, well, not most, like just like people will like just take the, "Hey, I'll just do it. Like I don't want to have to explain this, but yeah, I think you're definitely doing that service of this person if you take that, doing that person a disservice if you take that mindset of like, like, it's more like, will I take the time to explain this? And
Yeah.
like, that's going to be the slow way to do it. And they may still not get it, and it has to be like a few more, I may have to explain this a few different times over like me just doing it myself. If you take the approach of I'm just going to do this myself, then I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
this person, I'm not really putting this person in a position to help me or help themselves,
Right. Well, and I think it's a problem in the bubble world because our teams are smaller, if they exist at all. And so, A, we're not used to doing this because we typically work on our own as
Yeah.
developers, right? And B, even if we have a team, it's like 5 people or less. And you're moving fast. Like the company's using Bubble probably because you can iterate faster and it's cheaper, whatever. But like the speed is a key factor in people's choice in choosing a no code platform a lot of times, right? Which means that they expect you to move very fast. There's not this sort of like time to like the purpose of the company is to build their thing. It's not to mentor developers, right? Whereas like in traditional development, there are very large companies where there's a structure for bringing people up through the ranks. I'm assuming, right? Where that's built in, an educational component is built into the team. And Bubble, it's just not big enough for that. And so I don't think we are like set up structurally in our teams to mentor well. And there's not that many opportunities to do that, right? Because we
I'm
don't have
going through
teams.
it a little bit now with the intern that I'm working with, and I noticed that it is I have to pick what tasks I'm giving, right? I have to be
Mm,
very selective about that because I want to give the stuff that for number one, that she can learn something useful with, not just like database cleanup, because that's not really teaching or anything. That's just like work I don't want to do, and it's like, it's not that hard to understand what that is. But like things that don't have to be done so quickly, where they're not anything like 100% critical. Like this can happen over the course of a week, and I could see, okay, where is she getting stuck? Why is she getting stuck on this part? What's the underlying concept that she hasn't grasped yet? And then I can work through that with her. But like if I'm giving her something like, I don't know, connections are not going through, and like we got to figure out why Twilio isn't working. Like that's a critical thing that it's like I have to solve that now. I can't wait for somebody to understand how to figure that out. So like what you
do
give
you
them is also important.
so I wonder if like, well, I mean, we could do a whole week on internships. I have so much to say, but
Yeah.
I think that there's two aspects of working with other people. One is doing stuff that they assign you or that you have agreed that one person will do. And two is like just watching someone, right? So like if you need to fix that Twilio integration and you can't give that to her, do you ever just say like I'm going to talk out loud as I'm fixing this and you watch me think through it? Is that something you'll
I
do?
haven't, but I really should
Do it.
because yeah, that even helps me. Like
Yeah.
I notice that when I say things out loud as I'm doing, even if I'm by myself, like that helps me solve the problem a little bit
Hmm.
better. Because you like I don't know, there's something about saying it out loud. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
That's
that
that
that's
rubber
that
duck
doesn't.
thing. Do you know the rubber duck thing?
No, what's that?
I think they call it rubber ducking, which is where like developers will put like trad coders will put a little rubber ducky on their above their monitor, and when they hit a roadblock, they'll just explain to the little duck what they're doing. And it's just the same as so like if I call you up and I go, "Hey, help me troubleshoot this thing." I'm just talking to a rubber duck, but I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
you figure it out as you're talking out loud often. I mean, obviously sometimes you don't, but that's the thing.
yeah. It's never done anything but help me to talk out loud about what I'm
Yeah.
doing, whether someone else is there or not. Just talking
Mhm.
out loud and also writing like stuff down. I've solved a lot of problems that way too, like writing it down in a notebook,
Mhm.
the whatever I'm stuck on, and just
Oh,
like
interesting.
drawing arrows and things like that. So like both of those things, like getting out of the digital space for a second, like
Yeah, interesting,
sometimes
yeah.
helps me solve
Yeah.
problems
Well,
better.
and the thing about showing what you're doing to someone more junior is that you're gonna explain it in more specific, discrete details, and you're not gonna skip over stuff. And so
Yeah,
you'll
you can.
probably find the issue, right?
Yeah,
If you're troubleshooting,
I
you're
know
not
what you
gonna.
mean. Like things that you would have just kind of glossed over and assumed,
Yeah.
right? You have to say them, and that makes you think harder about it. Like, oh wait, that might be wrong. That little thing right there
Yep.
that I
Yeah,
glossed
or
over.
I forgot, oh, what's this conditional mean? This means I did it wrong. That's what the
Yeah.
problem is. Yeah. It's like step by step. It's like you're debugging in real time. Um,
Do remote senior devs just live in Loom answering their team's questions?
Interesting.
I think so. I think that's a more efficient way to do it than like getting on a meeting every time someone's stuck.
Yeah. But yeah, I wonder if that's like if you're on a team of devs and you're the senior, I would guess most of what you do is respond. That's like your main job description, but I don't know. I mean, I would guess you're building too, but yeah, I think Michael, you probably do spend a ton of time just like responding to stuff.
I
You
would
know?
assume, to your point, Kelly, I would assume that this is you would do more of this than you are actually hands-on
Hmm.
coding or in the bubble editor. I would think you'd be because they're the ones that are, building the features and stuff. You're kind of
Yeah.
there for high-level architecture stuff and solving their problems and maybe making bigger decisions. But I feel like your hands-on development time should be limited the more senior you
Yeah.
get.
Well, I think that it's a fallacy to think that like bringing on other developers speeds things up. I think it just generally, especially if they're like newer, you
Yep.
know, you, you're, I feel like if you're hiring someone who has not done this much, you should not expect them to be productive for a while. You should expect that the whole project here is teaching them and getting them up to speed and getting them proficient and efficient and all of those things. So yeah, I think that's your job.
And that's an investment. That is a time investment. This person
Mhm.
may turn around after 6 months and say, I don't want to be a developer anymore. This
Mhm.
sucks.
I
You know,
know,
that
and then
is
they leave,
that is
or they get a job where they're paid more,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you got to
So
start over.
it is definitely investment. I think that, this is true of any management level position, but like, yeah, the risk that you'll put all this effort into getting them up to speed, which probably will take like 6 months,
Mhm.
plus probably more than that, but like, um, the risk that they're going to leave is always there. So it's tough to know. I can understand why people don't want to invest the time in doing this because they're scared that they're just going to leave, but then you're
Mhm.
just working by yourself,
But
like,
also, like, that it's not wasted if you're getting better and you're learning more and and then you know what to look for is the other thing. Like, now you have hired the wrong person, I guess. And now, or maybe they were the right person but they couldn't stay or whatever. Like, now you know more for your next hire. It's all learning.
yep.
Quality of projects
Uh,
too can be really poor and only serve as participation trophy sometimes. Are you talking, Michael, about like as a junior dev? I think. I'm not sure what Michael means by
Quality
that.
of projects too could be really poor. The quality of projects. Okay. Yeah, I know. I think this is kind of speaking back to like the quality of the client that you get, like
Mm.
how good or bad is their idea,
Oh,
and like
like
how far will you go with this project kind of thing.
or the number of projects. Like, if I do 20 projects and 10 of them are like, or 20, 15 of them are just kind of stupid and didn't challenge me or whatever. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Okay.
All right, so let's go. Flowtron also knew what the rubber ducking was, so that is a. I always feel like you teach me a new like phrase when we're on these. I never know what
I'm
these things are.
mentoring you, John.
Appreciate that. All right, so we got mentorship and communication at the top. Let's go back to this for a second.
Mhm.
More projects we're putting as overrated. I think I have more, I think I have a little bit more
Okay.
of an argument for this one, but we'll go through it. We've talked about peer-to-peer exposure. I think that belongs in the kinda. Yeah, I think that's kinda, and here's why. If we're looking at this from the perspective of how did you get here,
Hmm.
I don't know that you're gonna understand what a senior person did. I think that falls under mentorship. I think once you're already at a level where it's like, okay, me and Kelly are equals, and we can appreciate a different approach to a familiar problem, that's when this becomes important in expanding your thinking. But does this get you there? I don't know that it does.
So I think we have very different experiences in learning Bubble. I could be wrong about this, but
Ooh, talk to me.
yeah. So, like, when I started learning Bubble, and I had been on my own as a designer for 10 years, didn't know any other designers, and I was afraid to meet other designers, and it was really limited my career and my skills. And so when I found Bubble, I was like, I'm gonna meet other Bubble developers and build a network and like learn from them. Oh, that's better. Um, and so I intentionally did that. I joined communities and I organized like weekly meetups, online meetups and stuff. And because of that, I was always like, I feel like my learning just like skyrocketed because I was exposed to all of these. Like, I didn't know what a custom workflow was. I
Mm,
was not reading the Bubble manual. You know what I mean? There's so many little hidden features that, I just had no idea that they existed. Or this symbol, that symbol, which means it does not equals.
doesn't
I didn't
equal?
know
Yep.
that. And I was like, there's no does not equal. I was building for like, I don't know, 4 months before someone was like, you idiot, it's that thing. I just didn't know that symbol, right? So I guess the point is like I don't necessarily know if that means, like seeing inside of their apps, but just being exposed to how other people build, I think is so essential, was so essential for me. But
Levels you up.
yeah, I don't think yeah. But
Super
I
important,
mean, maybe you didn't
or
have that
where would
experience.
without my input, would you put it at super
I
important
would
or
put that,
important?
I mean, personally, I put it super important, but I think I'm hyperbolic in many ways. So I would say important. Let's say important for me. I vote important.
And mentors, but you feel like like a proper mentorship,
Those go hand in hand in
bi-directionally.
a way. I mean, I think the mentorship is more about someone taking the time to go, let me show you how to do this, or let me talk you
Yeah.
through how to think about this problem. Um, I don't know, man.
Whereas this, like you said, it's not really, the intention is not to be helpful. It's just like, what did you do?
Yeah, just like seeing, like, also didn't know the toggle action, didn't know what that was. And then saw Kieran had built something. I was like, oh, you can do toggle with anything, not just like group focus thing or whatever, like,
Yeah.
and that was just a moment of seeing something he built and like it. So I think that is, I think these things are mentorship and peer-to-peer exposure are more important as you're learning. They're not as important once you're a senior developer, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. All right. So yes, the, if the question is how do you get there, then that we have to like kind of stay with that framework. Like how do
Mm,
we get there, right? So okay.
mhm.
So yes, I see your point. Okay. I'm going to say, and I feel like this is so subjective to people's learning styles, but
Yeah.
like I hate courses. I hate anything structured when it comes to learning.
Wow, interesting.
I need to do it myself, and I don't want to listen to anyone explain this boring shit to me. It's so boring when someone tries to explain to me. I'm like, I'm not going to get it. You're wasting your time trying to explain this to me. I am not going to understand what you're saying. I have to get to a point where it's like I'm stuck. I'm pissed. I don't want to do this anymore. Now I need your help.
Hmm.
But if you put this into a course format, I will never learn. I will never
Wow.
have the patience to go through that.
Oh, I will watch a course 3 times. I love courses. Yeah, I love them. But I don't think that I do think they're overrated. I mean, I think it was important for me in the early days to take like, I did Gregory John's course and, twice in a row. Um, and like, it was important for me to just get the basics. Since then, I've taken a couple of courses because there's not advanced courses in Bubble. There's
Mm.
very few advanced instruction. So I don't, yeah, it doesn't. I think I would put it in overrated as well. But I think it can be
I,
really helpful for basics in the beginning.
in the beginning as just a organized framework for what you are trying to learn.
Hmm.
I took like a bunch of the Coursera JavaScript
Mm,
and HTML, and I think it was helpful in just exposing me to the concepts and the syntax of a programming languages. But I didn't feel like after that I understood what I was doing. Like
I mean, I think now Claude and ChatGPT are way better teachers than any course because you can,
you can ask, ooh, AI. AI should be
yeah,
another tile. Create one for AI. Yeah, that's a great point.
yeah. It's funny as a course creator. I mean, I'm not one, but like, I feel like I don't know. Your days are kind of numbered.
You can interact with like ChatGPT to just like ask specifically the question like that. For me, that's a
Yeah.
dream. Like that's
Ah,
the
so
way I
good.
want to learn.
You
Yeah.
don't feel like a dummy. Like you
No
just
one
go.
knows how stupid I am. It's
God.
like-
Anytime I'm sharing my screen and I'm like, I'll just ask ChatGPT. I'm like, I'm gonna hide my screen because all the dumb questions in the left column.
yeah.
Okay. You only have a few more minutes. Deep dive.
Yeah.
Problem solve.
We're at 10. So I mean, we can literally like we can like stop this at any point and just continue because this is such a long conversation. We
I
can do this
know.
over multiple hours. But like
Yeah, let's
Um,
just pick up next time.
you want to stop here?
Yeah, why not? And then we can just
Okay.
pick back up on that. And I feel like we could do a deep dive on every single one of these.
I know.
I
I
love
know.
it.
There's so much to say. This is like a whole series of just like
Yeah.
what is a senior dev and what's important in being a
Hmm.
senior dev. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So this is like this is our first attempt at defining what a senior developer is and how they should and how one gets there. We're going to come back to this quite a bit. I feel like Kelly, we like in all of our talks, we kind of like broach this subject,
Hmm.
and this is the first time that we're really like focusing on it. So
Yeah.
thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to
Yay.
call
Thanks,
out
everybody.
122 people. Do you see this number at the top? 122?
No, I don't. I don't see
You
it.
don't see that?
But hello,
I'm seeing
everyone.
122 people at the top.
That's
That is
amazing.
crazy to me. It's awesome that people care what we think about here.
I know.
Thanks for listening to us.
I know.
All right.
Okay. Bye, everybody. See
All
ya.
right, later.